Alrighty, welcome into the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard, Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, and it is a Wednesday all day, and we got a pretty good show in store for you. A lot of NBA games tonight, a lot of previewing of that. We'll do our NFL power rankings, and tomorrow we will get to our NFL playoff scenarios, which will be a little bit muddied by the fact that this Buffalo and Cincinnati game, of course, is still kind of waving in the wind. We do know the NFL announced that they will not resume it this week, so we know that much. What they ultimately will do with it, we do not know yet. But we are a week away from the playoffs, basically 1 week to go in the regular season. So we'll do our best to untangle the web of playoff scenarios, because there are a fair number of teams that are very much in that web. So we'll try to untangle that for you the best we can. We'll do that tomorrow. Today we'll have the power rankings. And I want to start, of course, like I always do, with my opening rant. And this is something that I've thought a lot about over the last 24 hours. It's sort of a continuation of yesterday, but from more of a, going forward and bigger picture perspective. I've never been a big fan of Skip Bayless or Shannon Sharp. I don't really particularly care for that show. I think what Shannon Sharp did by not showing up because he disagreed with what Bayless said is reprehensible, specifically because of the business he's in. It's the equivalent to me of a banker robbing a bank. You have to, even if you absolutely detest the opinion of someone in this business, you absolutely have to be all about the free expression of authentic and true opinions in order for this business to exist. It's not negotiable. The only way this business that we're in is allowed to exist, this couldn't exist in a country without freedom of speech. It wouldn't be possible, because the very basis of all commentary, other than actually calling the games, is personality, it's opinion, it's conversation. And people are interested in hearing conversations that aren't predictable, and they're interested in hearing conversations and opinions that match their own. And there are people out there, no matter how crazy an opinion might seem to some, there are usually a lot of people out there that share that opinion. It's the old adage that you learned in school, like always ask the question, because if you're thinking it, someone else probably is too. And look, you can disagree. You're supposed to disagree. Like, we're not supposed to agree on everything. But to basically say I'm not showing up to give my opinion because I don't like the opinion of my co-host on a topic, I'm sorry. In this business, you just can't do that. That's unacceptable. It just is. I mean, like, the whole business is based on giving opinions. Like, you have to be willing to hear opinions that you don't agree with, and then take them to task. Look, they certainly argue enough, so come in and argue with them. That's what you guys do. You yell at each other.
From personal experience, I think Shannon Sharp just yells all the time.
That's all he does.
From personal experience, you and I have battled up and down a hill on topics.
Oh God, we did it yesterday.
That's fine,
right?
Yeah, and that's fine.
You didn't say, you know what, Gary, you're crazy. I'm not showing up today.
Isn't the tagline for their show "Embrace Debate"?
It is. That's true. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Oh, you have to show up to embrace debate.
I'm sorry, but that trend concerns me. We all know about cancel culture in the broader society. It's dangerous, period. But it's absolutely fatal to a business like ours. You can't have it. The business can't exist in that environment. It's not possible. Because if everyone says the same thing, no one's going to listen to anything. Because why would you? Like, there's a reason Colin Cowherd's the best in the business. He's one of the only people that I don't really know what he's going to say on a given topic, really, ever. I really don't. And I love that. Sometimes I think he's an idiot. Sometimes I think he's a genius. Sometimes I think, that's a stretch. But I never know what he's going to say, so I listen because I don't know. And
he's had a few stretches, and I agree with that part.
Yeah.
He will also change his mind on a topic.
Yes. Well, yeah.
If he gets different information or more.
Yeah, things change, whatever.
And that's, because change is inevitable everywhere.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, but it's just there's a reason I couldn't tell you the lineup of ESPN radio anymore. I have no idea. It's all the same homogenated trash. There's no personalities, no individualism, there's no unique opinions, there's no opinions, period. It's all just like propaganda and like PR based stuff wrapped as opinion. Like, it's really not good at all. Fox Sports Radio is better. Some of CBS's shows are pretty good. But Scott Farrell is a national treasure as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, he is. And we have him.
And we have him. 4 to 6 on the Cave, man. He's my favorite show we carry, really. He's just awesome. But yeah, and one of the things I try to do on this show is project a level of comfort taking unpopular and uncomfortable opinions on things when they are my own, not to be contrarian, but to be authentic. And that's what I did yesterday. We disagreed, and that's okay. And ultimately, we have to, as a industry, preferably as a society, but at very minimum as an industry, we cannot have people just not showing up for their opinion-based show because they disagree with an opinion of someone. That can't happen. I'm sorry. That's a fireable offense to me. Not even because he didn't show up to work.
I didn't agree with what Bayless said.
Oh, I don't think anyone did. I do think he was misconstrued a little bit. I know he always says that, but I actually think, like, when I read it,
I don't know. I think the words I read were pretty well.
Yeah, my first reaction was
they were construed. Yeah, let's say that.
Okay, but I mean, my first reaction when I read that was he's getting ahead of himself, but basically he's saying what everyone's going to be saying in a couple of days, which is at some point the NFL is going to have to figure out how do we go on from here. And right now, this seems irrelevant, meaning going on from here. That's how I read his statement. But, but whatever. The bottom line is whether I agree with it, don't agree with it, think he's an idiot. I mean, he thought Tim Tebow was going to be good and he thinks LeBron stinks. So I definitely don't think he's smart. But, like, it doesn't matter. Like, his opinion is his opinion, or even if it's not. Like, one thing I don't like in this industry that I know happens, and Skip is a practitioner of this, is, performing for the camera. There's an element of that. Everyone does that to a degree. I do it. You have to a degree. But I like people who stick close to their actual beliefs versus just saying what they think is going to get the biggest reaction. And I've always felt that Skip and Stephen A do that maybe a little too much. Whereas I feel like Colin maybe stretches it a little bit, but stays within the realm of his true feelings.
It's sports, but it's still entertainment.
You still have to be
stretch it a little bit. You have to make a storyline more compelling,
right?
Without lying,
without fully making something up, right?
I mean, you and I have disagreed on a number of things.
Yeah, of course.
We're laughing a half hour later. I would never hang the headset up and go, I'm done here. I don't agree with you.
Right. Well,
I mean, give me a chance to go at you and you to go at me. And that's great.
That's it. And you just can't do that in this business. You just can't. It's not even not showing up for work. To me, it is an affront to the very bedrock to which your livelihood is built on, which is the free expression and interchange of opinions. Like that, you can't have this business without that. It's not possible. And that really bothered me yesterday. And
I mean, I didn't like what he tweeted, obviously. No. I mean, there's a guy laying in the hospital fighting for his life. I don't give a damn about what they're going to do about the game right now.
That's fine.
That's different now than it was late Monday night, obviously.
Yeah. So really, Skip's offense,
things do change.
They change.
But
yes. And his offense,
why even say it is my point.
Right.
You don't have to make a comment all the time, especially if you know you're going to do one that's not well thought out.
Maybe he didn't realize. Maybe he didn't think it wasn't well thought out. That's possible. Maybe he thought it was well thought out.
Possible, but I mean, I've always been a thing about you don't have to be first as long as you be yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, because I guess.
And I jumped the gun yesterday.
I guess Skip's affront is he doesn't like I guess his affront was the fact that he was a day or two ahead of what the country was ready to discuss. Nothing he said was really incorrect. It was just
No,
incorrect
but at that
timing.
time, it's not
Yeah, right. Well,
not necessary.
but he ultimately, that was his take. That was what was on his mind at the moment. And he has every right to say it, as everyone has every right to bash him for it. What I don't think people have the right to do is cancel the guy because he has an opinion or a timing of an opinion. Even in this case, I don't even think it's he had an opinion people don't agree with. He had a timing of releasing that opinion that they didn't agree with is really more the crux of it this time around. But
And there's no way I wouldn't have shown up. I'd have wanted to be there to call him out on that.
oh right. Yeah.
As I know you would have too. You would have said, "Hey,
and
I don't disagree with what you say, but damn, can you wait till we make sure the guy's gonna live?"
And hell, I mean, it's the only thing I ever understand Sharp saying. I need the subtitles usually, except I hear, "Come on, Skeep, yo, Skeep, come on, Skeep." That's all I ever understand. So he can go on there and be like, "Come on, Skeep, what are you doing, man? Skeep, come on, Skeep."
Oh, Skip. I mean,
Come on, Skeep.
see, he blew a chance to say that, and that's a mistake you shouldn't make.
And not for nothing.
And the problem that you get out of this is,
yeah.
if it would have been Bayless doing that, Fox would have had no qualms letting him go, but they won't touch her.
Yeah, well, I think both of them are probably safe. I think Bayless is one of their two biggest guns there, along with Colin, and then Sharp is right there with them. And
But between Bayless and Cowherd, look how many people they've brought over.
oh, I know. I mean, you have Chris Broussard. I mean, they've been, yeah, those two are huge.
Now, Chris Broussard has no inside voice at all.
No,
but I like him.
Yes,
I really do.
Yeah, yeah.
But it sounds like he's always yelling at you.
Yes, yes, he does do that. And Shannon Sharp is one of those guys. Shaq is another one. Man, I need subtitles to understand most of what he says.
We need the Ozzy Osbourne touch on
Yes, that's right. The Ozzy touch.
When they put out the DVD of the first season of the Osbournes, I know someone who just loved the show and bought it. And you had the option of having subtitles when Ozzy talked. Yeah, it was brilliant.
That's awesome. That is tremendous. Sharon! That's all I ever get. Geez.
But I mean, yeah, I would have taken him to task. I would have wanted to have been there to do it.
Right.
And not as much about what he said, but so much of this business is timing. Mm-hmm. And I apologize for taking a source I trusted and jumping the gun yesterday.
Oh, on the Harbaugh thing?
Yeah, now the Broncos are having second thoughts about the money.
Yeah. That's a
Carolina Panthers swept in.
Let me ask you this.
Now they're talking the money.
Well, let me ask you this. We got a couple minutes before our first break. All things equal, let's say that the contract's going to be the contract. If you're Harbaugh, which one of those situations is more appealing to you? Charlotte or Denver?
Denver.
I agree.
Denver. You have a foundation of a defense.
Yep.
And a couple of weapons. Unfortunately, the quarterback that you're married to for 4 years has to play a particular system. And I don't trust Harbaugh as much as building that system as I do Peyton.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm Denver, I'd prefer Sean Payton, but I think Harbaugh can do it. Look, he's the coach that made Colin Kaepernick look good for a little while. So,
yeah,
there's not without some evidence that he can make something happen with Wilson here, who I think is, even though I'm not a big fan of his, I think he's better than Kaepernick ever was.
Kaepernick was not that bad of a player.
He was okay.
And I think too many people judge him on other things he did.
No, I mean, I judge him on his last 4 years in the NFL where he just wasn't very good. And even the years when he was pretty good, he was very much a system quarterback in a otherwise stacked team, just the way I've always thought of Russell Wilson. I think they're very similar. I think Wilson had greater success, and I think he has better touch, particularly on his deep ball. But I've always thought a lot less of Russell Wilson than most. And I think I've always thought of Kaepernick sort of, I think, fairly. I always thought of him as an borderline backup fringe starter type. That at the time he took over those Niners, they needed a shot in the arm of athleticism and difference because Alex Smith had kind of worn out his welcome and the team was otherwise loaded. I thought he was the best guy for the job then, but I didn't think he was the best guy for the job a year and a half later. And I didn't think he was really a starter 2 years later.
I was surprised. I thought he was going to grow into that job.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see him play as well then.
Right. Well, yeah, I was happy when they made the move from Smith to Kaepernick, but I was also happy when they moved on from Kaepernick a year and a half later. I just think he was one of those guys that was a novelty, and then the league kind of figured him out, and he didn't have that next chess move to take the next step. That's what I think of Colin Kaepernick. I thought he was a decent player. I thought he could have, if he wasn't persona non grata, he could have had a career as a backup, like a Ryan Fitzpatrick type of career, maybe, where he's a backup. Sometimes he's a starter. If an injury happens, whatever, underperformance. I thought he could have had like a Colt McCoy, Ryan Fitzpatrick type of career. But to have those careers, you have to be seen and not heard. People have to not know you. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And, not to go off on Kaepernick here, but the reason I bring that up is because I think Harbaugh got the best out of him by a lot of any coach he played for. And because of that,
I think Shanahan would have too.
Probably. Well, Shanahan's a great coach, but he's not available. My point is, I think Harbaugh, because of what he did with Kaepernick, I have some confidence that he could do something similar with Wilson, who I think is a little bit better and certainly has a lot more experience. So I would be okay with, if I was Denver, I would be happy with either Harbaugh or Peyton. I would prefer Peyton, but I think Harbaugh.
I'd be happier with Peyton.
Yeah, I would prefer Peyton.
But I think either of them can do the job.
But I think Harbaugh would do a pretty good job. I know this. If I'm Denver, I am doing everything in my power to hire one of those two. I want nothing to do with another first-time head coach. I want experience, gravitas, and proven results this time around because I'm too invested in Wilson not to get that. Like, I just can't financially afford not to get a win now coach right now. I just can't do it. You're not in that position. You're, like you said, you're married to this guy. Hell, you're more than married to him. You're like, you're like cellmates with this guy. Like you really can't get away from him no matter what. I mean, like marriage, you can get divorced. If you're in a cellmate with someone, you can't get divorced. You're stuck with them.
Your arranged marriage in another country.
Yeah, right. An arranged marriage. Right? Yeah. You're really stuck with this guy. Even more than marriage, you're really stuck with him. It's like, you better make it the best of it. So there you have it.
And to the GMs, I don't want to rag on him too much, but he thought he was bringing in a guy with that offensive ability. I wish they'd have done a little more due diligence on him.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
And realized that he failed in so many places in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, look.
Hopefully he doesn't get this one wrong, or he's going to be out of a job.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the other reason. If I'm the GM, I'm making sure I hire a named quantity, a proven guy, because for that reason, I think it's safer to do if I'm trying to preserve my job. Like if I get the perceived best or second best guy that's on the market, can't really be too upset at me. So, but anyway, there you have it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do our question of the day. We got NBA games to get to today. A lot of them, 12 on the docket. We'll break some of those down. Knicks are in action. Nets are in action. Almost everyone's playing tonight, so we will get to those. Of course, we also have our top 5. We have all kinds of stuff to get to today. NFL power rankings. Back after this with the question of the day. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you. With the power means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty, we're back, and it's time for the question of the day here on the Gary Ayd Show.
Younger sports fans are created differently than those from previous generations. I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you are ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-953-0866. That's 800-953-0866.
Nielsen and La Liga Tech have offered up some fascinating data from a collaborative survey of 20,000 sports fans spanning from Gen Zers to Boomers. Those surveyed offered confirmation of a growing trend in digital sports audiences, which is that young fans are being attracted to sport through gaming, streaming content, and mobile apps. La Liga Tech's Fabio Gallo said now is the time for sports organizations to prepare for change by creating owned digital platforms that allow their content to be discovered by a new generation. Question: are you watching most of your sports content via traditional broadcast or streaming services?
Yeah, I think a lot of people now have a pretty good blend of the two. I think the bigger difference I've noticed over the last couple of years in terms of the different consumption habits of the different generations is, and I think the NBA is the forefront of this. I believe the NBA suffers from Nielsen's inability and or unwillingness to count social media consumption and like highlight video consumption as part of their rating structure, because I think more than anything else, young people consume the red zone channel type of thing, or even more so the tweeted video, the poster dunk. I think there's a lot of that type of consumption by younger people, and the NBA, I think, is well positioned by the nature of its sport to really capitalize on that. But the problem is that stuff doesn't really count in the ratings that they use for the purpose of monetization. So I think that's a real challenge in the industry I've thought about for a very long time, because that's a big thing. I mean, yeah, the different, I think ultimately, if you're talking about watching a game, the platform on which it's consumed is becoming less and less important. That the industry, the ratings industry, has pivoted strongly enough and has put systems in place that allow for proper attribution and credit to be made with that. The bigger question is, how do you account for all of the ancillary stuff that is now maybe ancillary in production, but primary for a lot of younger fans in consumption. How do you account for that? And I think that's the bigger question.
I agree. And this has been an issue since the invent of cable. I mean, that's how many years it's been, because for the longest time, Nielsen didn't count cable ratings
Right.
properly.
Yep.
They adapted, which is just what they need to do here.
Mm-hmm.
They need to adapt. I don't watch much on broadcast television or cable.
Right.
I have.
Yeah, you have a lot of streaming services.
And those views should be counted, because the one I use the most, Sling, has a count.
Right.
Because at the end of the year, I got a count in what I watched the most. So there is a way to do this. Nielsen, again, has to revisit history because they seem to have forgotten it, and they need to reinvent that wheel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
The way to do this.
My understanding is that they've been able to count live streaming consumption. I think what's causing problems right now is all of the videos that are tweeted out, TikToked out, all of the various distribution platforms that are consumed in the millions by a lot of fans, particularly younger fans. That in many cases is the primary mode of consumption of league content. And that's not counting at all. Like, because a lot of times it's even distributed by, non-league platforms, obviously by non-league entities, individual streamers or whatever. And those type of numbers should be accounted for if I'm one of these leagues, because especially the NBA. I mean, like, people love NBA basketball highlights. They love them. Dunks, big shots.
They're quick, they're easy. You see the big plays.
Yep.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. It's perfect for the highlight setup.
It doesn't work as much for the NFL.
No, yeah, it's maybe a touchdown
because of the
pass.
way the game is structured.
Right. Yeah, a big touchdown pass. And the NFL also has red zone, which has been really a great invention. Although I'm hearing it might be going the way of the dinosaur, which is crazy to me.
That's insane, because I know people who spend their Sundays on
That's
red
what they
zone.
do. Yeah, I know. I know a lot of people that do the same thing.
And when I asked someone why, they said, I get to see every scoring drive
Yep.
all day.
All day. Yep. No, I mean,
And it's like fantasy's not going away, is it?
no.
Then
only
why
gonna grow.
should red zone? Because that's a great use for counting touchdowns. Plus, on the bottom, after the first set of games, by 4 o'clock, those fantasy totals are updated constantly.
Yep.
I don't know why that would be going away. I think that's crazy.
There we go.
And that has a way to be counted as well.
Yep.
I don't know enough about TikTok,
Yeah.
nor do I want to.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
But I know Twitter has counting functions. And you can see now, you could see the number of views. So it doesn't matter whether someone liked it or not, but if they viewed it on every tweet.
Yep.
So there is a metric available for it. It just has to be refined.
And see, this is funny. We're talking about this right now. Front Office Sports, which is a great newsletter, has a headline in there released today that Gen Z, which is the youngest active generation, adult generation, critical to future live sports. You read on, and it says more than $55 billion will be spent this year on global sports media rights, but for the most part, Gen Z won't be watching live games. That's a huge problem for leagues and their media partners who need younger audiences to drive ratings growth going forward. Gen Z fans expect interactivity and community to be a part of their entertainment consumption, but is largely missed from today's live sporting view experience. So this is goes on to talk about an advertisement for some other product to accentuate that, but it goes to what we're talking about. They're not watching live games. They're interacting, and that's what they're going to want. So that needs to be achieved.
At the Winter Classic, Gary Bettman was talking about that when he did his State of the League thing.
Yep.
And he says Gen Z doesn't want just games.
Mm-hmm.
They want a lot more. And their goal is to give it to them.
Yep.
and he wants to see more companies involved in it. And I don't disagree with him.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're seeing these streaming companies bidding, but again, they're bidding on streaming live games. The question is, how do we add these extra layers? And then more importantly, or equally importantly anyway, how do you make sure that proper attribution to the league of record and their media partners gets credited for something as, distant as a highlight that might be viewed 40 million times, but maybe it was cut by someone else, but it's still league content. You know what I mean? Like that,
Right.
that
Right.
type of
Well,
thing.
that's the fly in the ointment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that's not as easy to do.
Right.
But anything league generated for all of the leagues
Yep.
is already counted.
Right. Well, yes. I think the other thing that would concern me if I'm the league here, as we get more and more of these streaming companies carrying more and more live sports, something that's been in existence for a very long time, illegal streaming, is going to become a bigger problem, and something I think they're going to have to crack down on. Because it was one thing when it was only available on cable and or broadcast television, and that was basically the only option you had. And then you found like some pirate site or whatever. Usually you had like a bad buffering experience, but occasionally it was good. But now that it's going to be streaming companies exclusively with a lot of things, like Thursday Night Football, for example, if I was Amazon, that would be a big priority for me, is to squash all of those illegal streaming platforms as much as I could.
Oh, so you're not giving a shout out to illegal streaming?
I don't know who. Yeah, sorry, Austin. I don't agree there. I work in the media business, so I'm a believer in paying for access to expensive to produce and distribute content. I understand why other people who don't work in this business wouldn't share that sentiment, and that's perfectly fine. But I absolutely feel that way. And if I'm Amazon or any of these other streaming companies, I'm coming after those illegal streaming sites heavy. Now that I'm like spending all
For
this
what
money.
you're paying for your content, yes,
Yeah,
they should.
exactly.
I mean, we're spending billions here, and
Right.
you're
Right. You're basically pirating our stuff and then, giving it away for free or, almost free or whatever. Yeah. Can't do that.
the most difficult thing in the world is to stay on top of that, though.
Oh, it is. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Napster when they were pirating music. That was like the first edition of this type of thing. Then after that, there was LimeWire.
Yeah.
That was like the worst pirating site of all time. You were guaranteed to get a virus anytime you use that site. That site
Really wanted that Linkin Park MP3,
Oh,
didn't you?
I'm telling you, that actually was my first song I downloaded. It was a Linkin Park song. That's so funny. In the end, was the song. Yep, that was the
And
one.
I just guessed.
That was just random. That was so funny. That was the very first song I downloaded, though.
You know how easy it is now? There are browser extensions and small free apps that you can take any song off YouTube and just download. It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
Right.
But if I do it old school and I go to a library and borrow some CDs,
Yep.
which is how I built some of my library.
Yeah.
I'd borrow 20 CDs and rip them.
Mhm.
Is that wrong?
It's still pirating, I guess. I mean, it's ultimately, like you said before, it's you can't ever fully eradicate this. It's not really possible. But I think a lot of it has to do with how much money you have invested in something. I mean, if I'm Amazon, I got all this money invested in something, I'm going to do everything I can to limit that. I understand I'm never going to fully eradicate it, but I want to make it hard and expensive. Like, I think YouTube has actually done a pretty good job of that. You used to be able to watch all kinds of copyrighted material on YouTube. Now it's really hard to do. Every once in a while, you'll find something on there, like full-length movie or something. But for the most part,
And it gets taken down pretty quickly.
yeah, it does. So that there's a way to do it. Like if Amazon can get it to where YouTube has it, I think that would be good enough. That would be my goal. Because they've done pretty good with that over the last few years. I don't want to be like that grumpy old guy, like the Buzzkill guy, but like, I mean, really, you have to protect your investment if you're these companies. You just have to.
And it's not just Amazon. I mean, Apple's jumping into this
Apple.
foray too.
Yep. You can see, Google now has Sunday Ticket. YouTube TV
Yeah,
will have
and if
Sunday
you get
Ticket.
Microsoft involved in this, they watch everything.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yep. No, it is. It's
Oh.
a definite new age. Very interesting. I think the hardest thing is going to be the over segmentation of all this. There's going to be so many things in so many places. It's going to be very challenging, I think, for the viewing audiences to keep up, which is going to further dilute the live game watching, particularly among older generations who maybe are less inclined to dive into these technologies on average than younger ones, and are more frustrated by not being able to find something easily.
See, I got frustrated with cable, which is why I got rid of it.
Right.
Because the rates kept going up and the quality of programming kept going down. Well, if you want this in your cable package, you have to pay more.
Yep.
But you stick me with A&E and channels like that, which I will never watch. A&E actually used to be a legitimate channel.
Yeah, it used to be pretty good.
Concert performances and stuff. Now it's garbage. But you throw those at us like crazy. I think the cable industry needs to do more of a pick and choose, and what you want, you pay for.
It's hard because the problem is they're not all created equal, those channels. Like, for example, it costs the cable companies something like $5 per subscriber per month to carry ESPN, where it will cost them maybe 1 cent per subscriber per month to carry A&E. So in order to make their finances,
I'll pay for that channel because I know what comes with it.
You will.
And I'm getting a set of channels.
Right, you will. But in order to make their economics work, they need, if let's say there's 150 million households in the US to have cable, they need most of those to be paying fees to cover their costs for carrying those ESPN and other channels that are expensive to carry. Because let's say of that 150 million, a third of them are sports fans. The math doesn't work. That they've wanted to go with a more a la carte setup for a very long time. The cost,
I think it can be done. I really do.
I really don't. Because personally, I think it would have happened by now if there was a way to do it. Now, that might change if market economics change, but which I think is going to happen. The value of ESPN is going to go down on a per subscriber basis. It already has. At one point, it was like $8. Now it's like 4 and change or 5. At one point, it was like 8. Like 10 years ago. But like it might continue to go down as more and more people consume live sports on these other platforms. And then maybe that allows the cable companies at that point to make the math work and jump into the segmented fray. But that's just going to further the problem of different things in different places. I think that's a huge problem. I'm much more in favor of the traditional cable model where most things were in one place. Even if I was getting kind of gouged on prices, at least I felt like I knew where to get things. I think that's going to be a major problem that's going to be needing addressing in the near future, is that segmentation.
See, I was gouged on prices.
Oh, yeah, we all were.
And I'm going through hundreds of channels of stuff I will never watch.
Yep.
I have less than 100 channels on Sling.
Yep.
I watch like 12 of them.
Right. No, I understand.
I watch the sports networks.
I get the frustration with it. I really do.
I watch games. I don't need the sci-fi or sci-fi or whatever it is now channel.
Sounds like a disease.
But damn it, on New Year's Eve, I want a marathon Twilight Zone episode.
Did you get Siffy? If so, you may be entitled to compensation. Call XYZ law firm.
I think that's an NBC-owned thing. And I think they do that because the old Sci-Fi network, which was spelled SCI-FI, was copywritten. They had to change it to SYFY, and it just looks and sounds stupid. But they did that with a lot of their channels. They gave them odd names because they couldn't get the original names once they bought the whole mess of channels.
Right.
And then if you want the full of NBC's content, you have to buy Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the full CBS, you have to buy Paramount Plus. It's at a point where does it end?
Yeah, no, I know. It's all over the place. It's very over distributed. All right. Well, that will do it for right now. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do our NFL power rankings and we'll continue on from there. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All right, we're back. Good to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo. And time to do our NFL power rankings. But first, a couple of quick news and notes. Hamlin has, there's an update from last night. His oxygen, he is on a ventilator, but he's breathing better. His oxygen levels have gone from needing 100% oxygen to now just 50% as of last night. So he seems to be trending in the right direction. This information came from his uncle through a local sports reporter. So did want to share that.
It's good news.
It is good news. Also, kind of piggybacking off of our conversation from before the break, Amazon is planning a standalone application for its live sports content. I kind of speculated that they might be doing this down in the future. Man, I feel like Nostradamus this morning. That was what, 2
You
days
mentioned
ago?
it last week. Yeah.
Well, here it is. It's Sports Pro Media, which is a trade publication. Amazon is planning a standalone application for its live sports content as the technology giant doubles down on Prime Video. The company sees sports as a valuable acquisition and retention tool for its core retail business and has assembled a portfolio of sports rights in key markets. We know that Prime Video now has the live rights to the NFL's Thursday night games, a Premier League in the UK, and the NBA in Brazil, while it also has launched a slate of original sports talk shows. So they are reportedly believed that they're shifting their content from the standard Prime Video application to a dedicated destination, which will aid discoverability, highlight the range of sports content available to subscribers, and allow the company to find new ways to monetize its acquisitions. So far, it's unclear when such an application will launch. However, they have to decide whether they're going to proceed. So looks like this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So worth keeping an eye on here. Pretty interesting. I mean, this only made sense. That's why I kind of thought they would go in this direction. I didn't realize it would happen 2 days after I mentioned it, but
it's a great idea, though.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I really thought this was going to happen. So there we go. So we'll see.
For me, 90% of the crap on Prime,
Right.
and I know people will love it, and I'm not critical, it just doesn't suit me.
Now, the question I have, I mean, there's a lot of questions.
Although I did, when I had Prime, I did love Gary Busey Pet Justice.
There you go. See, my big question, one of them anyway, there's a number of questions, but one of them would be, will this sports app by Amazon be purchasable by non-Prime members? Are you going to have to subscribe to Prime plus an upcharge the way, like, say you get Disney Plus, but if you want ESPN Plus, you have to pay an upcharge. You can't just get ESPN Plus. You have to pay Disney Plus plus.
You actually
ESPN.
can.
You can now? Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything Disney. I
Okay.
have ESPN Plus.
Right. Okay. Well, so I'm curious to see if they'll bundle them, or if one will be an upcharge, or if one will be a, if you could buy either or. Like if I was like for me, maybe I'd buy the sports one. I'm not going to buy Prime. Can I do that? Or will you not be able to? Will you have to buy Prime in order to qualify to buy the sports one? They're obviously not going to do it the other way around.
I wouldn't be surprised if you had to buy Prime.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too.
But they might make that available
because they're not going to do it the other way around. It's not like you're going to be able to, not buy Prime. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're not gonna make it where they require you, if you buy Prime, to buy the sports. They're gonna make it, if you want the sports, you're gonna have to buy Prime, or they're gonna keep them standalone.
It might be a Prime upcharge.
Yep.
Say if you have Prime, and I'm just throwing a number out.
Yeah.
They charge you $4 more a month. But if you buy it as a standalone, it's $8 a month.
Right. Yep.
I think both options should be available. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I need you on this, Nostradamus, because I have no idea what they're going to do. I would like to see them make both available, but I'm not counting.
I'm gonna guess that they make it you have to be Prime, but if Prime,
and this will be what, Prime Plus?
Yeah, whatever Prime is. I don't know how much it costs right now, but it's like $12.99 or something like that a month. My guess is that you will be able to get both for $19.99 a month, $20 a month is my guess. Or you can get the sports package, maybe standalone, for $15.99 a month. I bet you they do something like that. That's what I think.
That was the same thing I thought, but you put more realistic numbers to it. See, I haven't had Prime since it was less than $10 a month.
I've never had Prime, ever.
And that was a very short time.
Yeah.
Because once I got it at $9 something a month, it went up a month and a half later, so it was gone.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, there we have it.
Take me to dinner first, my God. Don't just up the price right away.
That's right. All right, let's do our power rankings. What do we got?
You want to do them in this short of a time?
We got 10 minutes.
All right. And, of course, it's me first. I'm going to go with Kansas City, number 1.
Yes.
I had a very hard time doing this.
It's tough.
Because I don't know where anything falls. And I know this is not going to, whatever they come up with will not be satisfactory to Buffalo or Cincinnati fans. And I'm already reading, well, they want Mahomes in the Super Bowl that bad. Well, guess what? He has to get there first. I have the Bills number 2. The 49ers 3. The Eagles 4th. The Cowboys 5th. The Bengals 6th. The Chargers 7th. The Vikings 8th. And then this is where I had a problem.
What about
Vikings are Green Bay be in there? I don't know.
What about the Giants?
What about Tampa Bay? They're going to win the division. I have the Giants 10th.
Okay.
And I ended up putting the Ravens in at 9th just because I haven't seen a reason why any of the other teams I'm talking about, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Green Bay, Jaguars, Detroit, Miami, should be in there. They're all 8-8.
And who did you go with for 8th?
Vikings.
Okay.
Ravens 9th, Giants 10th.
Got it. Okay.
Giants deserve to be in there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the Niners at number 1. I'm going to bump Kansas City to number 2. Put Bills at 3. Cowboys 4. Eagles 5. I'm going to go with the... guess I'll go with the Bengals at 6.
So far, we've had the same top 6. Different order for a few.
Yep. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with the... I guess the Vikings at 7.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Ravens at 8, like you did.
I went with the Ravens at 9.
Oh, at 9. Okay, so
I went Vikings 8. I went Chargers 7.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens at 8. I'm going to go with the Chargers at 9. And I'm going to go with the Giants at 10.
This is a first.
What's that?
We had the same 10 teams.
Yes.
In the top 10. Different order.
Different order, yep.
But same 10 teams. I was tempted to take the Chiefs off of first. Only because they didn't impress me against Denver. And they got 2 real good calls handed to them. Of course, late in the game. And it wasn't very impressive, but the Bills-Bengals thing messed this up.
Oh, it definitely did.
Having that game would have resolved a lot of things.
Yeah, it's definitely was an important game. There's no question about it. All right.
Yeah.
And
I don't like the fact it's not going to be made up somehow.
Yeah, well, they haven't announced that yet. They just said it's not going to be done this week. So that doesn't mean they won't do it next week.
Yeah, but you're not going to do it in week 19.
Well, next week is 18.
Right, but you're not going to play 2 games in a couple of days. Are you going? And you're not going to chop off advertising for 6 wild card games over that weekend to play 1 game.
Right.
There's no realistic way to get it in unless you do that. So your choice is to either tick off 2 teams or 12. Path of least resistance.
You got to tick off 2 teams.
Tick off 2. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it from a competitive standpoint.
Yeah.
As a Bills or a Bengals fan, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no great solution. I mean,
there's none.
Because both teams have things they're still trying to play for, so you don't really want to just like forfeit the game or count it as a tie.
What's the solution?
I think you have to play a couple games in a week. I do. I think that's the only.
I think
option.
what they're going to do is let the game go and go by win percentage for that, which will still favor the Chiefs no matter what if they beat the Raiders. And
right. That's why I think. That's why I think they're going to probably play a couple games in a couple days, because the one thing
I don't think they can. The one
thing that you do have going for you in both cases, most likely, is you most likely will have a first round bye. The Bills almost surely will.
No, they won't.
Sure. Why not?
If they lose, they won't. And even if they win, they're not guaranteed because they play the Patriots this week. There's no guarantees. They're only tied with the Chiefs.
Right.
The only reason the only way they could get ahead of them is winning their 2 games, no matter what happens to the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs win, there's only one team that gets a bye, which I also hate. But I get it, with 7 teams in the playoffs, you need 6 playing the first week. But it's frustrating because there is no good way of doing it. I mean, not close.
Yeah. So you have the 7 teams per conference. Yeah, with the one team getting the bye. Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to play. a couple games in a few days. I think that's what you have
They're
to do.
not going to do that.
I think there's a good chance they will.
Players Association will not let them do that.
I think the Players Association will get a lot of pushback from its members that they want to, have their best shot at making this, at making their seed. Because ultimately, if this is only going to affect the two teams, then the Players Union should anyway only hear from the players, their constituents of those two teams, because the other 28 teams or 30 teams, this doesn't matter, right? So as long as that's why I think at the very least,
well, it matters to Kansas City.
Well,
and I bet you Kansas City would vote not to play the game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're the Players Association, you're only going to listen to the teams that this directly affects. That that you're only going to hear from Cincinnati and from Buffalo. And what I'm saying is, I think it's fairly certain that they will not make this a league-wide issue. In other words, they're not going to back things up by a week to accommodate this and involve all 32 teams. What I think they'll do is they will either forfeit or they will play the game in a couple of games in a span of a week. And I think that's going to be coming down to what Cincinnati and Buffalo represent to their union, what they want to do. And then the union will fight for what they hear from those guys. That's how I see this playing out. And what Buffalo and Cincinnati choose, I have no idea. That's why it could go either way. But I think that the union will only really listen to those two teams in this case. And I don't think the league's going to make this a league-wide issue by backing things up, because that would make it even more convoluted for the union, because now everyone would be pissed off, right?
Yeah, but you're still going to have the Players Association not wanting to put players at risk.
Right, but if the players...
you can't play Thursday and then Sunday. You can't.
But if the players who would be purportedly at risk were saying, we want to do this to their union reps...
Well, of course they will. They're stupid.
So the union reps are...
They don't care about them. They don't care about their bodies or their futures. They just care about the game.
Well, good. The union reps...
Which is one of the problems.
The union reps' job, it's a fiduciary responsibility to battle for the expressed interests of your constituents. And if the only constituents that matter in this example are those two teams, and they say, we want to play, the union is fiduciarily obligated to advocate for that. They are. So it just depends, I think, what those two teams want to do. I think is really what it comes down to. I think if we're talking about the union. Now,
I think it could be disastrous, and I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think it would be disastrous. I think
I do.
And I don't necessarily think they would play on Thursday either. They might play on a Tuesday or a Monday.
A Tuesday after a Sunday.
Or a Monday.
No, that makes absolutely no sense.
I think they would try to spread it out more on the back end than the front end. With the playoffs coming around the corner, I think they would try to get this game in. If they're going to play it, I think they would try to do it earlier in the week. And you play, a number of games quickly, but you have close to a normal week of rest going into the playoffs. That's the way
If that's the case, then why are they playing the Bills game on Sunday? Why isn't it moved to Saturday?
Well, maybe they will do that still. They haven't made that announcement what they're going to do for week 18.
And they claimed, which is usual for them, they can't even keep track of their lies, because on their own website, it said there is no schedule for the Bengals and Ravens yet. They haven't scheduled a game. And then in their own release, they said, all the games are going as scheduled. Well, make up your mind. Which one is it? If all the games are scheduled, and update the schedule site.
Scott has an interesting idea. If it's only going to affect the 1 and the 2 seed, why not have the game on Wild Card Weekend?
Because how do you know what the number 1 and 2 seeds are without the game?
Well, I'm saying,
and then you can't do that.
Yeah, so
you can't, because then no seed gets a week off.
Then that's it. Yeah, that's the bigger problem. Then you're expanding it to affecting other teams, which is why the biggest thing, if I was the league, I would be I'm containing this conundrum to 2 teams. I'm not involving any other teams directly as much as I can help it. So that would be my one biggest thing. I think the best thing to do is to play the game, play the week 17 and week 18 game in short rapid succession and give these teams more or less an average week going into the playoffs. That's what I would do here.
Now, the problem is they already have 2 games scheduled for Saturday.
Yep.
Do they bump those to Sunday and bump the Bills and Bengals games to Saturday
Yeah, you could do that.
after a Monday night game, which they didn't really play? So,
Yeah, you could do that.
and then play on a Wednesday or
Right,
something.
yeah,
I mean,
Wednesday or
it's the only
Thursday.
one, but you can't play Sunday and then do it in a couple of days.
Well, you
It's
could
not enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1 week, it's one time. I think you can extenuating circumstances require extenuating exceptions at times. I wouldn't be as militant in that as that because I just think you don't have a lot of good choices. So, but I do think it's important to play this game. I really do.
You
Because
don't really have any good choices, but
no, you don't.
one has to be made.
one has
I'm
to be
glad
made.
the job's not mine.
Yes, me too. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got the top 5, hour 2 around the corner of the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave. All righty. Hour 2 of the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com, and the Cave Talk Radio app. And the top of the hour, of course, means only one thing. It's time for the top 5 and Jack George.
This is the moment we all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
All righty. What do we got today, Rich? Isaiah Thomas Day, isn't it? Is it Isaiah Thomas Day?
Pardon?
Isaiah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, Isaiah Thomas Day. All right. So for those of you that didn't tune in yesterday, we've continued our series of top 5s, and we did our worst NBA contracts. We have to do MLB ones, and we did MLB ones already.
We did.
Yep. So we did the NBA. We did what started this was we did just worst contracts ever. And we realized when we were doing that, a lot of them were in baseball. So we separated the sports. Basketball was challenging, but we came up with some good ones. But what I realized is Isaiah Thomas was so bad and so prolific at executing awful contracts, he needed his own category from his time as GM of the Knicks. So without further ado, the 5 worst Isaiah contracts signed in NBA history. Contracts signed by Isaiah Thomas during his time with the Knicks, which is funny because he actually was with a number of teams, but he was so bad with the Knicks, it's legendary.
Yeah, he was no picnic with the Raptors either.
No. Funny enough, he was a reasonably good coach with Indiana.
Yeah.
Like, that was something he was actually decent at, and he never pursued it. He was actually a much better coach than he was a front office guy.
Well, Bird got there and fixed that.
Yes, that's true.
And there was no love lost between those two.
No. It seems like Isaiah Thomas is not well liked by his peers, just in general.
He hasn't been offered another coaching job.
All right, let's see. So
pretty much says it all, doesn't it?
That's it.
Hey, what happened to us? Are we not live?
We are live.
We are. I got a picture.
Yep. Now you don't.
Ah, there you go.
And now you do. And now you don't.
See, that's no fun. I look more tired in that picture than I do in real life.
Well, there you go. I was drinking.
Okay.
Something. So
top 5 worst Isaiah Thomas Knicks contract.
All right, I'm just gonna run down the names off the top of my head: Curry, Marbury, Francis, Jerome James. Those 4 come off the top of my head right away.
Oh yeah.
Who else? Let's see. I mean, I guess David Lee was actually like one of his like rare good things that he did.
Yeah, that was actually the scouting department.
Yes. Let's see. I'm gonna actually look this up because those were the 4 that came off the top of my head right away.
And those were the 4 I was thinking of. It's hard not to consider those.
Yes, it is. Here we go. Let's go ahead and take a look here. I mean, there were a lot of them. I think those 4 though really jump to my mind. I mean, they did a lot of different things. Like the Jerome James one. That I remember. 5 years, $30 million. Oh
yeah.
Ay, what a disaster. And the funny thing was they paid Marbury to go away.
Yeah.
It's like, but he was actually good. Like, he was like their best player.
Well, I know for many years, Vlade Divac was really trying to ascend to Thomas level, but lately he seems to be getting things right.
Yeah, Vlade seems to have figured some stuff out. Isaiah never really did. Did he sign what was this guy that awful? No, he was probably gone by then.
How
Novak.
about Jared Jeffries?
Oh, there we go. That's
That's
a good one.
one.
Yeah, that is a good one. Jared Jeffries. Oh man,
That was an awful contract.
he was just an awful NBA player who kind of hung around for a really long time.
Yeah, because of a long-term contract. That,
Yep. Well, there you have it. I mean, it's a short top 5 today, but it's a funny one. Those are the 5 in some order. Now it's just a matter of ranking them. I think the Jerome James one tops my list. I mean, this guy was like shades of my boy DJ Benda. That's how good this guy was. We just signed him to a 5-year, $30 million contract back in 2005 when that was like a pretty big chunk of change. Let's see who else. Number 2, probably Francis, because that was such a dumpster fire. Number 3, gonna go with Marbury. Now, what about number 4 and 5? How would you put these in order? I'm struggling with this one.
well, I would put Jeffries at 5.
Okay. Leaving 4 for who do we say? Now I've lost my train of thought. We have Jeffries, we have Francis, we have Marbury, we have Curry. Yeah, Eddie Curry. Yes.
Eddie Curry. Yes.
Eddie Curry chicken. You know, the sad thing about him is he ate himself out of the NBA because he was actually pretty good.
Yeah, but he couldn't play before that.
Yeah, but he had some years where he averaged at or close to 20. Like the guy was a fairly good scorer. He had a nice touch around the rim. Now he played a prehistoric brand of basketball that would be unrecognizable to today's NBA fans.
But it wasn't unrecognizable then.
It
He
wasn't.
just couldn't do it.
Right? He just wasn't fit enough because he was too fat because he was eating fried chicken, which I understand. Look, fried chicken's great. And so is curry chicken and jambalaya and hot dogs and whatever else you want to engorge yourself with in New York City. There's everything there. I get it.
Right.
Because, man, I love food. So I understand. But he literally ate himself out of the NBA.
Oh, he did. He was that generation's Dinner Bell Mel. Remember Mel Turpin?
Dinner Bell Mel. I thought we were going to go Oliver Miller here, but Dinner Bell Mel. That's
who was
a good
a
one.
highly rated center.
Oh, that's so funny.
And he just ended it. I mean, he ended his career like that.
So there you have it.
Yeah, so I would do Curry 4th and Jeffries 5th, but like I said, it's your list.
Yeah,
I have one thing I'd like to add if we have time.
Yeah, we do. What do you got?
The CBA, which was a really good minor league.
Yep.
In fact, I used to drive to a lot of CBA games because the quality was great. He bought them in 1999 for $9 million.
He bought the league?
The league.
Okay.
It's 1946. In 2001, they declared bankruptcy and folded.
So they were operating for 50 years.
Yes. Thomas convinced franchise owners that they should sell their teams to him. He said he could push the league into the 21st century.
Oh, boy.
The league office budget went from $2 million to $4.3. Nobody except the head of operations knew anything about minor league sports. It's very grassroots. You can't cookie cut it.
That's
and
true.
This is what Thomas tried to do. He lowered players' salaries to weed out veterans and fill his league with young, promising talent. Gave himself a higher salary than the previous guy. He talked about the bright future for a year, and then he lost interest, and the league folded. Why anyone would ever give him a job again is it baffles me.
Yeah, no, he was a pretty much a disaster. I mean, from start to finish, outside of being a great player, his basketball life has been fairly not good. With
Not at all.
a moderate exception for coaching. He was a reasonably good coach, I thought, with Indiana.
He was, but the new president came in, and it was someone that did not like him.
Yep.
And Bird had a reason to. Thomas said some very disparaging things about him when he played.
Oh, they definitely didn't like each other.
And I knew it was only a matter of time before he got fired. I didn't expect it to be like within the week, but I get it.
Yep. No, look, relationships follow you. Your history
They
follows
do.
you. They absolutely do. Well, there you have it. That's today's top 5. Worst contract signed by Isaiah Thomas with the Knicks. For a recap, number 1, Jerome James. Number 2, Steve Francis. Number 3, I'm actually going with Eddie Curry at 3. I was going to go with Marbury, but Marbury was actually good. They just mishandled that relationship, I think. So I'm going to move that to 4. And number 5, Jared Jeffries, the legendary Jared Jeffries.
One of the worst. He's in Granville Waiters category. For a guy who played a lot longer than he deserved to be
Granville Waiters.
Well, Thomas was also one of the reasons they ruined that relationship. So,
yes.
I mean, this all falls to Isaiah.
Well, unfortunately, and we've seen it really become almost like a Cold War right now in present times. Back then, it wasn't quite as obvious yet. But people of Isaiah's generation, the Isaiah Thomases, the Charles Barkleys, the Shaqs, who's a little younger, but still in the same general ballpark. Man, these guys, they hate the modern NBA. They really do.
Oh, they do.
And there's a level of contempt that is pretty palpable. And it's no wonder people like JJ Redick and others are firing back. They sound like idiots, but I understand why they're coming at these guys.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a civil war basically. And Isaiah Thomas has been that way forever. I mean, I think he never really liked or embraced authentically players that came after him. He's just a grumpy old guy, basically.
And he's terrible on NBA TV.
Oh, he's awful.
Even though he just sits at a desk, he's bad at that.
Yeah, he's not very useful. He's a great player. That was it.
He was a great player, yes.
But that was it. All right. Well, there you have it. So let's take a break. We'll come back. We got to dive into a lot of NBA games. There's 12 of them on the docket today. We'll take a look at some of the better ones. Then we have news you can use and some NHL stuff to get to as well. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All right, so a lot of NBA games on the docket tonight, 12 in all. Knicks are in action tonight, so are the Nets on the local front. Lakers are in action tonight. They've been playing reasonably well as of late, mostly because LeBron is going into Superman mode. But let's see, a couple of these games. Let's start with the locals here real quick. Brooklyn at Chicago. I actually have a gut feeling, Rich, and I can't explain why. But I just think the Bulls are going to find a way to end the Nets streak tonight. I don't like, there's no good analytical reason why I believe that, but it's just one of those things. I just have a gut feeling. I mean, these streaks end at some point, and bad teams beat good teams on a somewhat regular basis over the course of a season. So I just have a feeling Brooklyn's going to fall tonight, be a little bit flat maybe. And I think Chicago, who has been playing a little bit better, finds a way to score enough points tonight and win. That's just what I feel. I don't expect anyone to agree with me because it doesn't even make sense to me, but
I'm not going to,
don't
worry.
I don't blame you. I don't really agree with myself.
We will agree about the Knicks, though.
Yes. Well, the Knicks have been playing fairly good. I mean, they looked great the other day in their afternoon game against Phoenix.
They did. They were in a bit of a slump, and they bounced back.
Yep.
And I don't think they should have that big of a problem dispatching the Spurs.
Probably not.
Portland, Minnesota interests me.
Okay.
I like the way Portland has been playing. They're getting a lot of use out of Yusuf Nurkic, excuse me. Their backcourt is good. It has been. And Minnesota's Minnesota, but I have enjoyed the way the Blazers are playing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Minnesota is a very frustrating team. They really are.
Because whether they're missing people or not, it's irrelevant. You can either catch them playing really good or really bad.
Last night, Giannis goes nuts and scores 55 points to single-handedly power the Bucks to a win. Now on a back-to-back, going to be in Toronto tonight. This is a game I'm interested in. Do you think the Bucks have enough juice in the tank? No Middleton, Giannis just put in all that work. They're back-to-back. Can they win tonight, or are they just going to be out of gas and lose to a average Toronto team?
I think they'll win.
You do? Okay.
I think it'll be close.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think the Raptors will go away. I think the Raptors' wings are going to have a little bit of fun. I think Holiday can possibly slow down Fred VanVleet. And if he does that, Giannis will do what Giannis does.
Yes.
And I think they'll get the win. Think about this. We're 10 weeks into the league. We've had 14 50-point games. I mean, we ended last season at 19.
Mm-hmm.
And at this pace, that can get crushed by the All-Star break.
True.
And I know, I listen to everything people say. I don't think the defense is great night to night in the league, but you also have a lot of situations, travel, back-to-backs, that don't exist in the playoffs for the most part.
Right. Yep.
But what we're watching this season is so cool.
Oh,
it isn't about the defense. It isn't about the foul calls. It isn't about the pace of play. It's about a league that has more talent than ever.
Yeah, it's up. It's definitely up there. I do think pace of play plays a big part, but the talent, without a doubt, is a huge piece of this. The biggest piece of this. I mean, there's just so much talent.
Dallas has a terrible pace of play.
Yeah, they do. That's true.
Does that mean Lukic doesn't get his plus?
I like how you combined his two names there. Instead of Luka or Doncic, you called him Lukic. I like that.
Yeah, it's easier. I try to be economic with words.
So, can we call him White Lukic? For white licorice? I always preferred black licorice myself, but hey, that's just me.
He gets criticized for being white enough. I'll leave that one alone.
All right. White Lucas.
I think, I mean, I love the 70s.
Yes.
NBA in the 70s. And this league, and there's stuff in the 80s that were really cool, but from a skill standpoint, this league does everything those eras did and left out the 90s.
Yeah. 90s
I
to me
think
was
this
blah.
is just an amazing time to watch the NBA.
Yeah, I agree. I always thought the 90s was the least interesting decade in NBA history for my money. If I was going to rank the decades, I would probably pick the 80s as my top, probably the 60s as my second, probably the mid 2000s, like 2000 to like 2010 or so as my third, current era as my fourth, and the 70s as my fifth. That would be my order if I was going to
see the 70s are the forgotten era.
They are.
There was so much good basketball.
Yes. Yeah, the 90s to me was just mud
you
wrestling.
had Elvin Hayes at his peak. You had McAdoo. You had the Doctor. So much.
Oh, so much. I mean, we didn't even talk about Havlicek and Cowens in the early part of that decade. The Knicks.
Those Celtic teams.
Yep.
The Knicks in the early 90s.
Early 70s.
The 90s were
wow.
Yeah, in the early 70s. The 90s were it or the 70s were it for me.
Yeah, to me, the 90s was like mud wrestling. Like I watch 90s basketball and it's cringeworthy to me. Like it's just
the 90s were not interesting to me.
No, I don't like the 90s at all. That's my least favorite decade for sure. I mean, I barely count the 50s. I guess if you do, the 50s would be my least favorite, but it was such a startup at that point. I almost think of the 60s as the first full decade of the NBA, even though the 50s was, since the league started in 47. But I kind of give that first 10 years as just like, okay, well, what are we going to be? And there was some good basketball in the mid 50s, especially, but they were still learning their way.
See, to me, I felt that way about the 60s. The league was learning its way.
There's just too many great players from that decade.
But there were just so many in that era that were amazing.
Well, that's why. I mean, you got between Wilt and Russell and Oscar and West and Baylor, and I mean, just so many. It just goes on and on. I mean, even guys who are lesser known, like Walt Bellamy and Zelmo Beatty, and I mean, there's just so many guys who were just monsters. Nate Thurmond.
See, because I was there for so much of the 70s, it just stands out to me. And it's the era the NBA wants to forget about.
Yep.
And I don't know why. You had peak Kareem, peak McAdoo, the Doctor. You had so much. You had Havlicek and Cowens and Silas and JoJo White. You had that Celtics team at their peak.
Yep, the Knicks with Walt
You had a
Frazier.
Washington team. You had a Washington team with
Hayes.
Phil Chenier, Elvin Hayes, and Wes Unseld.
Yep, you had the Knicks, who are their best they've ever been.
Frazier, Reed, DeBuscher. I mean, all-time greats.
Yep.
Why do they whitewash that era?
Good question. I've wondered that forever. It really.
Do you know the 1973 Knicks championship game win is not available anywhere? It is not archived.
I didn't know that.
And there's no footage of it.
That's really sick. That's really sick. A couple other games tonight wanted to look at real quick. 3 or 4 others. Indiana at Philadelphia is attractive to me tonight. I think this is an interesting game between two teams that are fairly evenly matched, have similar talent types. I think Philadelphia is a team I'm going to be watching closely over the next couple of weeks because of the return of Maxey. I expect their overall offensive output and their average numbers to start going up because of him returning. I mean, he missed pretty much most of the season until he came back a few games ago. So I think that's going to be a big deal for them. That's like getting a player at the trade deadline almost. You know what I mean? I mean, he's really good.
Oh, yeah. And I think it helps their bench as well.
Yes. Well, is he going to start or is he going to come off the bench? Because I would bring him off the bench. That bench
I think
is horrible.
he's going to start.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. A couple other games here, Miami and the Lakers. This game could be interesting. Miami's a really brutal team to watch usually. They find ways to win more than they lose, but just barely. And they're just not, I mean, they're just like watching paint dry.
They are.
A lot of
They are.
days. The
People
Lakers.
complain about the Clippers. That team gets up and down the court compared to Miami.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God. They do not use the talent they have
No,
well enough.
I agree.
because
You have the Lakers, meanwhile, one of the better offenses in the NBA, averaging over 116 a game, which is 7th coming in today. And LeBron's just going crazy. I mean, he's just, I saw a comment the other day by our friend Brett who said that the LeBron's a compiler. He's not even good anymore. Like,
No, but that's wrong.
I don't know how A, it's wrong. But B, I've never understood an argument. If you're compiling good statistics, doesn't mean that you're good still to have good statistics? Like, how could you be a compiler of good stats if you're not good enough to get good stats? That doesn't even make sense.
It's a tough thing because a lot of people will look at it and say, "Oh, he's putting up numbers, but he's not winning."
Oh.
And the two are not mutually exclusive.
No, I mean, sometimes the team's not good enough. And I mean, like I've always said, if you're a good player, you're going to put up good numbers. And if you're not a good player, you're not going to put up good numbers. It's just that simple. No one ever accused of Jared Jeffries of compiling. Why? Because he sucked.
All he compiled was splinters from the bench. He was just awful.
Oh, that's great.
Man.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, the 70s are still a decade I think doesn't have respect. And like I said, when I found out that I could never rewatch the last game of the Knicks 73 championship series again, I was upset. Because how does a league just let their history go to hell like this?
Yeah, it's very concerning. It really is.
On ESPN Plus, if I go into the NHL section, I could find Stanley Cup games from the 50s. I go into the NBA section, I could find last week's games.
Yeah.
Or some games from the Jordan era. It's not enough.
Yeah, it's not enough. I agree.
This league has a tremendous history in the 60s and the 70s.
Yep.
Are very, very much unrepresented.
Agreed. Last game tonight that is of interest to me, Phoenix and Cleveland. Cleveland has a lot of injuries. I don't know about Garland or Mobley tonight. They're both day to day. Maybe they're both going to play. If they play, I think Cleveland has enough to win. Otherwise, it's going to take another 70 from Donovan Mitchell.
Well, I'm not as worried about Mobley because Love has done really well.
Yeah, that's true.
I am concerned about Garland, although I think LeVert's done okay. And it's given them more size in the backcourt, but they do miss Garland.
Yes, I agree.
I don't know if the Suns have enough to I don't know. If Garland did play, I think he could torch Chris Paul.
Yes, I agree. 100%. All right. Well,
and geez, who on that Clippers team guards Mitchell?
Probably Bridges, right? It has to be.
Yeah, then you're taking him away from a forward.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, that puts you in a tough spot, but I would have to go with my best guy on Mitchell, especially.
And then who does your two guard cover? And I think Jared Allen can neutralize DeAndre Ayton, especially if Ayton's not interested that night.
Right. Yeah, I think they're similar level players. I agree.
And I think it's an interesting game, although I do think the Cavs are just a better team.
I think
especially without Booker.
Yeah, Booker's absence really hurts his team a lot.
It does.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got NHL, we got news you can use, and we have probably a little bit more on tonight's Knick game as well. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
Alrighty, we are back. And talking about the Knicks for a second. We mentioned Julius Randle the other day. The play of Grimes and Brunson has been really spectacular. And then you add in Barrett when he's healthy. I mean, this team, they're not an elite offensive team, but they're a consistent offensive team with a lot of pieces that you have to account for every night. And then they compete on defense. I'll tell you what, they're a fundamentally sound, well-rounded team that in a playoff series, I think would be a workout for even the best teams in the NBA. I don't know if they have enough top flight talent to win a playoff series against, say, a Milwaukee or a team like Boston. But I tell you what, I think they could easily push a team like that to 5-6 games and make each game a workout. I think this is a pretty good Knicks team. I really do.
I do as well. Look at the defensive numbers from October and November and look at them since. They're not a negative on defense anymore.
No, they're really good on defense now.
Yeah, Tibbs has got them playing the right way. And I continue to be impressed with them. I wish they had a better number one. But basically, if they get that, it can be lights out.
Yep, I agree.
They can, if they get a number one, and I know it's not going to be easy to do. And it may have to wait till next year in free agency. But if they get a number one, they'll be able to play with any team in the league, I think.
Agreed. Totally agree.
But they're fun to watch.
Yeah. No,
I'll be watching tonight.
Yeah, no, they are fun to watch. And they play a balanced style. It's not all out all the time, open shooting. There's a mix of different stuff that they do, which makes them a fun team to watch because it's not one-dimensional.
Right. And when they rein Randle in a little bit from throwing up a lot of threes, he's effective.
Yes.
He's so effective.
Yes.
In the low block, in the mid-range, his usefulness ratings when he doesn't take a lot of threes is really high.
Yeah, he's really, really been a great piece for them. And he's one of those guys that's going to be a tough one to determine. What's his contract status?
Randle?
Yeah.
I think he has a couple of years left on that.
He's still locked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, man, he's good.
Yeah, he is. And they extended him. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He would be a perfect number two.
I'm glad he's found a home somewhere. He was sort of like the bounce around guy for a little while. I'm glad he's found a home.
Unfortunately, when you're drafted by the Lakers, if you're not a star, they're going to send you out and get a star.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
And it didn't help Ball. It didn't help. It didn't help Randall. It didn't help Kuzma. All effective players.
Yep, Ingram's another one.
Yeah. And Ingram, I thought, had star potential. He
wasn't ready yet. I was disappointed when they let Kuzma go. I thought Kuzma figured out a way to be like a good, effective player, even though he was sacrificing quite a bit. Him, Caruso, and KCP were three guys I think the Lakers were foolish to let go.
They couldn't keep anyone with the Westbrook contract.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Caruso's a loss, although I think Reeves does a lot of the same things. And I think he's a better shooter.
Yeah, he's definitely a better shooter. He's not the athlete that Caruso is, but he's reasonably athletic. But Caruso's like
but
a great
LeBron
athlete.
Trusts him, and that means a lot.
Yes, that's true.
If LeBron didn't trust him, there's no way he'd be hitting game-winning shots.
That's true. That's very true. Well, there you have it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll finish it up with some NHL and news you can use. Back after this to wrap up the show. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All righty, before we get to news you can use, what do we got in the NHL today, Rich?
3 of the 4 local/state teams played last night. Let us kick it off at the Garden. Let's take a trip to the Garden, shall we?
Let's do it.
Rangers looked sharp. Mika Zibanejad, Keandre Miller, Philip Hedl, and Jacob Trouba each had a goal and an assist. Igor Shesterkin looked good in goal. The Rangers beat Carolina, division-leading Carolina, 5-3, and ended.
Good win for the Rangers there.
Very good one. It was Carolina's first regulation loss in 18 games. It ended their actual winning streak at 11. Very good game. In a very emotional game last night in our nation's capital, Alexander Ovechkin got 2 more goals because, of course,
why not?
Why not? It's what he does. The Sabres came out in Pray for 3 shirts and warm-ups, and it was just a very classy move. But despite Ovechkin's 2, Tage Thompson completed a hat trick 3 minutes into overtime. Sabres defeated the Capitals 5-4 in a very emotional game for that team.
Did Ovechkin ever win a cup?
Yes.
He did. Okay, good.
He did. Sabres and the Braves are and the Bills are interlinked. And there's a lot of friendships between players on the two teams. And you can't go to a Sabres game without bumping into Bills players, and vice versa when schedules allow. So it was a nice win for the Sabres, and they were probably a little outplayed in that game. But it was good to see. The Islanders also played. They were out in Vancouver and had absolutely no problem winning 6-2.
There we go.
An interesting statement by Gretzky. He is loving watching Ovechkin chase his record. A record no one ever thought would be broken, but Gretzky predicted it 7 years ago.
He said Ovechkin
So
would get there.
There's one guy playing in the league that's going to break that record, and it's going to be Alexander Ovechkin. So he's also a soothsayer as well as a great player. Only 3 games in the NHL tonight. It is TNT night, and one involving a local. The New Jersey Devils are lacing them up in Detroit.
Okay.
That's NHL news.
Hey, there you go. What do we got for news you can use today?
Something really interesting. Damar Hamlin started a fundraiser when he was still in college to raise $2,500 to get some toys for kids in one specific place. We don't have to worry about the $2,500. The family says that is going to go out on a much wider scale now because they've passed it by so much. They hit $1 million mark.
Wow.
And you're getting donations from not only NFL players. It seems half the 49ers team has. You got Brady, you got Russell Wilson, you got Andy Dalton, who's forever linked to the Bills. He won a late game that he had nothing to play for with the Bengals and put the Bills. That's the first time they made the playoffs in all those years. And so Bills Mafia, doing what they do best, donated about $500,000 to Dalton's charity. If you look past the table thing and everything, they do a lot for a lot of charities. And in fact, they've also donated to T. Higgins one too. But yeah, it's like a who's who in the NBA as well that has donated to this. And all 4 sports have donated to this charity. And they say it's going to top 6 million by the end of the day.
Wow.
That's going to help a lot of people, and there is nothing wrong with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. That's tremendous.
Speaking of Hamlin, Mike Tomlin did his press conference. Those were the questions he answered, all about him. And it was interesting to see. And I didn't realize he had known him since he was 11. So it's
interesting.
It was very, very nice. And he had a lot of nice things to say. Red Sox avoided arbitration with Rafael Devers, signed him to a 1-year, $17.5 million deal. Really? Really?
Well, it was arbitration, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, they avoided arbitration.
Oh, by signing that deal. So it's a 1-year deal.
By signing that deal. And I could just see Steve Cohen get 17.5, huh?
Here we hear 30. Yeah, let's go 40.
Yeah, he's warming up the checkbook. As we teased with, or as I teased with earlier, the Panthers reached out to Jim Harbaugh, seeing as how
Broncos.
the Broncos have kind of backed off on the money. Why did you make him an offer then? If you're going to back off on the money, that's a ridiculous.
Yeah, that is concerning.
A ridiculous move. And all the people talking about how the Lakers defense was going to be much better now that they got rid of Vogel.
Yep.
Let's not do that again.
No, let's not do that.
Something that didn't age well.
No. Yeah, the idea that you're going to improve defensively by getting rid of one of the best defensive coaches in the NBA is a little silly.
Staying with the Hamlin thing, and I don't want to overdo this, but Fanatics is donating all of his jersey sales to his toy drive.
Nice.
Class move.
Definitely. Without a doubt. It's good stuff.
I might buy a jersey.
Hey.
Something I've never done.
Let's go.
From one of the leagues. I have other sources for jerseys. Zion Williamson will miss multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. I've heard this story too many times. He'll be reevaluated around the end of the month. How did he hurt his hamstring? He did it against the Sixers Monday night. He grabbed his leg after dribbling up the court.
Not good. I mean,
this is not good. It's now beyond a trend with him. And it's concerning. How many games has he missed since he's been in the league? In his rookie year, he played 24. And I thought it was laughable that he got Rookie of the Year votes. He missed the entirety of last season. He has never played more than 61 games in a season. If this is your franchise cornerstone, and
it's dicey.
I mean,
it's shaky ground.
He only played in 26 of their first 37 games, but his numbers aren't bad.
No, he plays fine when he's out there.
But I mean, the Pelicans, my opinion, for what it's worth, they held down the Ingram injury. They're 12-6 since he's been out. I don't think they fare as well without Zion. I really don't. Something I came to a conclusion on, and I really want your opinion on this.
Okay.
It's more not news, but it's something I can use just for my own sanity, which is perilous at best. If the NFL, and they still haven't made a decision on the Ravens game, despite them saying yesterday all the games are locked up, they're not. The Ravens-Bengals games. Move the games the Bengals and the Bills are involved in to Saturday. Because if you can go Sunday to Thursday, you can go Saturday to Wednesday.
Yep.
And then if both of these teams are involved in first week wild card games, make them the 2 games on Monday.
Yep.
You'll have 4 days in between games, both ways. I don't want to see a tie awarded and the Chiefs just handed it. The Chiefs get enough handed to them by the NFL.
Yeah, the Chiefs are damn good.
They are, which is why they don't need anything handed to them, which defeats the purpose. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things on that. One, I don't think the Chiefs are handed anything, but the bigger question is, I mean, look, I'm okay with whatever the NFL chooses to do here. I trust their judgment as a league, and I really have no issues with whatever they decide to do. My least preferred action would be assigning a tie or a forfeiture. But aside from that, any other possible outcome, I trust the league's judgment on. So I'll let it play out and see what happens. But ultimately, as long as they play the game, how and when they do it is less important to me. And I think the other thing I would be careful about doing is, like I said earlier, I don't want to turn a problem for 2 teams into an issue for 30. That would be the other. So I don't want to back up a lot of stuff and change the cadence of a bunch of other teams to make it.
But in the way I proposed it, I don't think it bothers all the other teams.
Yeah, it will affect some, but it's only adding like another day in most cases. So yeah, that proposal you just kicked
what does
out,
it bother? 2 teams on wild card that might have to play on Sunday instead of Monday?
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. No, I agree. Like
I feel for them, but I just can't reach. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
considering what these 2 teams, the sacrifices they would make.
Yeah, I mean,
1 day's not going to kill you.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I wouldn't have a problem with your proposal, but I also wouldn't have a problem if they tried to do it in a more concise way. Look, at the end of the day, this is 1 week for 1 year on a very weird circumstance. Even if it's
but it's 3 games you're playing on short rest.
Yeah,
and
that's what
it's a lot.
And if it's a lot. But you know what? People have sudden needs at their jobs all the time that are out of the ordinary. So you do what you have to do. If the NFL rules that that's the way to do it, then I trust their judgment on that. But we'll see.
I trust nothing about that league.
Yeah, I think they run a pretty good ship.
Okay, fine. Paul George status TBD after a hamstring tweak. What else is new?
Yeah, what else is new?
That's all I got.
There you go. All right. Well, that does it for us. We will see you again tomorrow. We'll have our playoff scenarios and Thursday Night Football to break down, and we will go on from there. We'll see you tomorrow, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.